Hey everyone, Sean here, and welcome to this video. I wanted to really sit down and talk about this as I'm recording on Merry Christmas or Christmas Day. And I definitely watched this movie during Christmas Eve, around the latest show time, to minimize the crowd, though there were two kids or something like that, but it wasn't a huge issue, gladly. And I was able to really sit down and watch this film, right? And what I can say about Sonic the Hedgehog 3 or Sonic 3, that this movie was absolute cinema. It was a really fun film. Twas a fun, wild ride. Although, that being said, this had issues I felt like should have been addressed that this trilogy has, even through from the first film. You would think that this will all be like stomped out and all that stuff, but I'll talk more about that in a later bit, which, by the way, will be spoiler free. This whole video will be spoiler free. I'll probably be very vague at best, or at worst, I should say, when it comes to spoilers. And then later on, I'll talk about my little nitpicks and stuff like that for the film. But what I really liked about the film was, of course, the black and red hedgehog himself, Shadow. This is really his year, right? We had the Shadow Generation stuff that came out back in around November. That was pretty cool. I actually experienced that. But Shadow here was an absolute treat. Keanu Reeves nailed Shadow. I feel or felt for Shadow. His take on it just really matches what we expect from Shadow, and of course you have that Keanu Reeves spin on it. Kind of what you expect nowadays from Keanu Reeves with his motif and stuff like that. His sort of stoic kind of like like not modest, but subtle, and just like he doesn't get super emotional when the situation calls for it, appropriately, right? I felt like it definitely fit within Shadow, so I thought the casting was great there. His performance with him was just adequate, super adequate. I loved I loved Shadow's presence throughout the film. Of course, you'd wish for more with the dialogue and stuff like that. He didn't speak a whole lot. Let me say that much. He didn't speak a whole lot. He's not really talky like Sonic, of course, which it does make sense. But with what Keanu Reeves did with Shadow, I wish for more. I wish to hear more and stuff like that. Though I will mention, though, I was disappointed that I didn't get to hear the one line, right, I was super expecting from this Shadow, but I didn't. Oddly enough, it's just so strange, But at least he does it, of course, but he doesn't say it, which is kind of disappointing. Anyway, other than that, his presence was great. The Shadow incorporation into this movie universe was great, or at least it worked, because Sonic, this Sonic universe or Sonic movie or cinematic universe tends to be very comedy driven, very like over the top with the jokes and stuff like that, which could make or break for some people. And I'm kind of like in the middle-ish. Although this time around, I will say that the jokes here were better, right? But there are still jokes that were kind of eye-rolling or eh. And then, of course, there are some things that I wish did not happen. But, just for the sake of the story, okay, fine, right? But at least they really kept it to a minimum, which I will talk about for this bit, is that they definitely, listen to the feedback of the fans by minimizing the human appearances, right? Including, of course, the side characters that you saw from Sonic 2. So it really pretty much like kept it mostly to Tom, Maddie, of course, with Gerald and Ivo Robotnik, aka Dr. Eggman, Dr. Robotnik, depending on where you're coming from. So I think they really addressed that very well. The screen time for, of course, Sonic and his friends was pretty good, I would say. But yes, there was quite a lot with Gerald and Ivo. I'm just saying Ivo for the sake of things because they're both Robotniks, whatever, right? Anyways, so at least that was with them because of course I love seeing Jim Carrey with his take on Dr. Eggman, and then now with Gerald, and seeing two of them on the screen. It was quite a bit. It was quite a bit, right? You did see that quite a bit throughout the film. I kind of wish some of that time went to Shadow, but it is what it is. You still get a good amount of Shadow, but I wish for more. That's kind of like the buffet kind of problem, right? You just wished for more. But Gerald was great. I thought his presence, right, was appropriate. His reasonings to be a part of this storyline, of course, worked because yes, I mean this is a huge deviation from Sonic Adventure 2. I mean, he's supposed to be dead, right? What you see is just like the videos and memories, right, from Shadow and all that stuff. But some stuff that was left behind by Gerald, he planned it, and then they activate, of course. But that's the first huge deviation, right? And speaking of that, there are a number of deviations, which is kind of expected, but that those deviations, for at least some of them for me, are a little questionable to disappointing, right? Even Maria has some changes too, but overall it doesn't like hurt the film. But I thought it was kind of interesting to take this route, right? Especially for Maria. But I think in the end it kind of makes sense. I'll talk more about that in the spoilers part of things, because I think for what this film is, it doesn't really add to it overall. It's still like, okay, it's still the same thing kind of phenomenon. So I guess it makes sense. They omitted some things for the sake of time, but again, it's still kind of disappointing me because it does change things quite a bit. I guess with some of the tones and some of the other things, but the overall story still presents Sonic Adventure 2 appropriately in a way. The other characters, right? Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, I thought they were great because, of course, Sonic is what you expect. His growth continues in this film, which I thought was good to see. And that's kind of like I say why the changes happened in this writing, because they wanted to show Sonic more and his growth and stuff like that. And so in the end, I was willing to overlook those certain deviations with how they presented Sonic here. There were some subplots with Sonic, that were problematic, right? Just for the sake of the story. But with Knuckles and Tails, their presence was appropriate. They definitely had plenty of screen time. Maybe a little more Tails, right? But I thought it was still pretty good. They all have their sort of distinct roles, right? You got Sonic being the speed, the leader, the heart of the team, right? And then Knuckles is the muscle, of course, behind it. He's also kind of like the wisdom in a way, even though he's like very much honorable and very stuck on like he's very like one track, but he's willing to like learn things from human culture, of course. And then Tails is of course the smart one, the gadget guy, and all that stuff. What you expect. So it was very, very well executed, I'd say, with the whole Team Sonic dynamic, right? And speaking of that, in a way, I love the game references that was present here. There are a lot of lines from the games. There are a lot of like little actions from the games. I don't want to speak on them too much, of course, but you'll see quite a bit of that throughout the film. Of course, with the motorcycle with Shadow, the framing, right? Like there are specific framings and moments of the film that are from the game, which was pretty cool. And then, of course, Shadow with the gun, very much paying respects to Shadow the Hedgehog, the game. And then you have Sonic Adventure 2, of course. And then even a little bit of Sonic Heroes. And I want to see more Sonic Heroes because that's like, kind of like my sort of, I guess you would say that my favorite game in a way. But anyway, so you get to see a lot of those little sprinkles throughout the film. It's pretty cool. I did mention about the humans. I forgot to include Stone. There's a very strong subplot with Stone, and I thought that was also appropriate within the film overall, right? I mean, you got he has the thing with Dr. Eggman. He admires him. He's loyal to him, but of course, despite all that, Dr. Eggman continues to just be an asshole to him. I thought it was good though. I mean, Stone, I feel like he is a part of the movie universe, if that makes sense. Like I felt like, he's not just there. He, is also part of the story. That's what it feels like at this point. So, I don't hate him. I don't dislike the Stone's presence. He's like he is that sidekick for Dr. Eggman, just like the Dr. Eggman always has like sidekicks throughout each universe, like the Saturday morning cartoon with the drill robot and the chicken robot. I forget their names. Forgive me, it's been a long time. And then of course with Sonic X, you have Deco and Boko, and then you have the yellow and red robots from some of the Sonic games. So you get the point. So Dr. Stone is that sidekick to Dr. Eggman. And so that's definitely what I feel like at this point. The storyline with Maria and Shadow was very, very good for what you expect from this movie universe, right? Again, because this movie universe is very over the top, tongue-in-cheek comedy, all that stuff, pop cultural references and stuff like that. But they definitely were able to sort of switch to that serious tone rather quickly and fashionably so, and paid respects to Maria and then the whole storyline around it, the tone, right? They didn't kind of do the what do you call Thor Love and Thunder, where someone is dying and it's like oh, I'm dying, that it's kind of like that sort of tone. Like they definitely were able to turn that off for this part. It definitely worked. It definitely showed why Shadow feels this way, why Shadow is doing all this, the believability, right, for Shadow's drive, right, for vengeance. Vengeance is a big word for Shadow, and you definitely were able to feel that thanks to what was represented in this film. So they did a very, very good job with that, despite the deviations. And so I was pretty pleased to see that, because I was like really looking forward to how they're gonna do it, and then it was good for the most part. Could it have been better? Of course, but for what was given, I liked it. I definitely did. Maybe perhaps like if there is a Shadow spinoff, I'd like to see more of that storyline expanded upon. And of course, even within the Maria Shadow stuff, there were some number of references, I believe, sprinkled in that little bit alone. The story, though, it's hard to say because it's hard to say without spoiling because there are deviations, obviously, with this shadow and all the stuff you expect, like arc and the eclipse canon and so on and so forth. But you know, it still takes place 50 years later, all that stuff. So the basic tones or the basic structures of the shadow stuff is still there, but again, there are quite a bit of changes. And but you know, it is what it is. It still was a pretty fun film to experience. Now, let me get the bad stuff out of the way, the nitpicking and the negatives, right? My biggest pet peeve with this film is the soundtrack. Again, like, this should have been addressed, especially from the last one. Like, bro, why? Like, okay, they did play more of the game music, but it's just like a little moment, just like these little bursts, right? Like, bro, come on, that you know, certain soundtracks should have been the soundtrack played throughout this certain scene, in this certain scene. And I'm gonna say this, right? Yes, the live and learn stuff happens, but that kind of falls into that sort of problem too, unfortunately. So while it was great to hear it at least to some extent, it's like, why is this movie universe so shy on the game stuff, right? At best, it's like cameos, like, oh, remember this soundtrack, you know, kind of thing. I want like, you know, I want it to be like the dominant stuff, right? Because otherwise, they still use the songs, right, from bands and artists, and the orchestral stuff. I mean, the orchestral stuff is good. It's just that, where's the game music, right? There are some notes of the game music being incorporated into the orchestral stuff, but only for a little bit. Again, it's like why these little bits? Why are you so shy about it? You know, this could be an issue with Paramount. This could be an issue with Sega. Who the hell knows? But all I can say is, like, come on, like, why dancing around the bush? Like, go for it, right? If you're gonna do it, then do it. And they're still doing it in this third film. It's like, come on, like, okay. At least during some those really important bits, okay, right? But still, there's some scenes that were just there were obvious picks for those scenes for the music, right? In Sonic 3, it's only little bits at best. It is, you could say, like, the most they did out of the three, but it's still little bursts and stuff like that. Hopefully I'm deaf or something, but there are only little bursts of it. But anyway, the other nitpick or negative I had with the movie is some of the writing. Right, there are two moments where I really did not like. One was the dancing scene with the lasers. You know, for those who watched it, you don't know what I'm talking about. The other one was just like, okay, you know, basically they had to get into this building. It's got security in it, and then one of the characters pulls off like something eye rolling to me, and it's like, really? That's how they're gonna get through, you know? It was just kind of dumb. Like, I felt like that point they should have just somehow sneaked through or something like that. That, I don't know. Like, there could have been better ways to get into the building, you know? But or at least, like, I don't know, something else should have been done for that bit. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Like, everything else was peachy. Everything else was great. So great that I'm willing to overlook those two for the most part. Right? But the music, I mean, come on, right? Gotta do a little better. There are definitely improvements there, right? If there is a problem with this film, it's definitely the music. Okay. Is there anything else to talk about? Oh yes. So I guess get this out of the way before I forget. Yes, you definitely want to stick around for the mid credit scene and the post credit scene. So stick around throughout the credits the whole time if you want to see little extra bits. Okay. And yes, it kind of goes along with the fact that Sonic 4 is greenlit. There's gonna be more Sonic films. This is not the last one, but you may pick up on some notes if you look into what's going on with Jim Carrey, right? So I'm gonna leave it at that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I can say basically without spoiling things. So I'm gonna leave it at that. So I know that there's quite a bit to talk about with this alone, but I really like Sonic the Hedgehog, the franchise, and this movie definitely paid a lot of respect to it. Definitely, there are still improvements to be had. Right? It's not perfect by any means, but it's a really fun film for everybody. The fans of the games, the kids, the younger audiences who may be introduced to Sonic this way, right? And the parents, right? So that are taking these kids to or with. I'm just happy to see this film performing a lot better in the box office than Mufasa. I honestly thought Mufasa was going to just sell tickets, right? And stuff like that. Tickets flying off the shelves, if that makes sense. But no, it's like the opposite, which I'll gladly take the L on that one, right? Because my guess there was wrong. It's great to see that a film where yes, they are taking a lot of the feedback and incorporating that into the film is showing like yes, you should do that from the fans. Pay the fans the respect, and you will have greater results in the long term of things, more ways than one. It's just hopefully going to be continuing for 4 and beyond, right? And of course, especially with what was represented at the end, I definitely look forward to it. So hopefully I'm not forgetting anything to mention, but yes. So overall, yes, Shadow was great. All the other characters were great. I love Jim Carrey as both the Robotniks, right? The Shadow and Maria stuff was great. There were better jokes this time around. There are still others that you may cringe to, but I like the jokes here better. I think this one definitely had the best jokes of the three. Yeah, so the action was fantastic, epic. The epicness was turned up to, you could say 11 for this one. And I hope to see more. But yes, there's the changes to the story were interesting, and it makes sense overall. So that's pretty much it. So if I'm going to give it a score, I think honestly I can give it a 8.5 out of 10. Initially it was a 9, but thinking over this stuff brings it down a little bit because of some of the writing. And then it's like these easy fixes that could have been done, but they weren't still quite done right. So I'm gonna give it I think 8.5 out of 10 is pretty appropriate. So for Sonic 3, if it's like just as high or somehow lower than Sonic 2, I'll definitely fix those scorings later on for the two, right? The other two films. But I really had a lot of fun with this one. Go see it. I may go see it again in Dolby Cinema on New Year's Day at night. So we'll see about that. but I'll definitely would like to see it again if I can. But I was really glad to see it. I loved it for what it was, and I look forward to more of it. More spin-offs, please. If there is, hopefully with Shadow, and then if there's going to be Knuckles season 2, please have the Chaotix. That's all I'm going to say. So, what do you guys think, though? For those who watched the film, leave it down in the comment section below. Love to read them. And I think yeah, we have something really great in our hands. Thanks to Fowler, and then of course Casey and Miller, the writers of the franchise, or this trilogy at least. And yeah, so thank you very much, and hope to see you all in the next one. Bye bye. Oh yeah, the spoiler one will be in the next video. So bye bye. Sean out.